Didn't you say that's sort of where I got?
Yeah, he's got a little intimal thickening. Intima is, I'm sorry.
What is intima?
Is the inside layer of the heart. It's got 3 layers of the artery. And so this is getting thick, and he's got a little plaque beginning right here. This is nothing. We would still call this normal, but it's the beginning of how plaque forms. So we're going to have to watch him in 20 years, or maybe 10.
He's done this like 3 times on me in the last 12, 13 years, so
Yep.
he sort of has watched it. But what I want with that picture there is for us to look at and to think, what causes the plaque, you say, is the cholesterol.
Right. And a lot of times it's hereditary, too.
Hereditary, okay. But we have that life-giving blood that's going through us.
Right.
But it depends what we take in.
Right.
The food that we eat.
That's correct.
The double cheeseburgers, the pizzas, the fried food, the
Candy.
the candy, Halloween. It depends what we take in. We can have an effect on our blood
Right.
and the plaque buildup.
Right. If you have high blood pressure and you eat a lot of cholesterol, it's going to go faster.
Okay.
And if you smoke, that accelerates the growth of plaque.
You ever think maybe, like when you're doing this, when you're looking at somebody, that's sort of like sin in our life? That sin can build up over time? And as sin builds up over time, turbulence takes place. You ever thought about that? How usually it's not one thing that causes a problem. Well, sometimes it is, but it builds and builds and builds and builds. And turbulence takes place in our life. If we actually would read the whole passage of, the whole passage of 1 Corinthians 6, the Apostle Paul there is talking about not uniting to a prostitute or staying faithful in your marriage. So Paul's talking about something that is physically important to people, staying faithful in your marriage, and then he goes on to say, we have been bought with a price. When I and you, when we do that sin in our life that we know is wrong, and I do it. I don't know how many of you would raise your hands too. I do it. I do things that I know are wrong. It can build up plaque. And that plaque can lead to turbulence.
Right.
Turbulence.
Turbulence and stroke and all kinds of bad things.
Turbulence and stroke and all kinds of bad things. And what happens in our life when we have unconfessed sin? We have turbulence and all bad things. See, the blood in our body, God's created to give us life, but it depends what we take in to feed it. This is where we jump into the spiritual now. Our spiritual souls, our spiritual heart, it can get corrosion. It can get corrosion? Yeah, y'all know what I mean. It can get clogged up. And it gets clogged up because of those things that we say or do, which is the sin, which can block it. But through confession, sort of like going in for surgery.
Right.
Confession can remove that sin from our life, and our blood can flow more freely. How about what?
Open it back up again.
Open it back up, right. Open that relationship with God back up. Open a relationship with each other again. How about if we jump down to slide number 20, Scott? Okay, so the blood's going through our body. The heart's pumping it up. It's shooting it up through the aorta, up to the brain. It's the transportation system up there. But it's also going down into the kidney and the liver. Right. So this is a picture of my kidney. What is, just in layman's term, what does a kidney do?
It's our filter of our body. It takes out impurities and places it in the urine. From the blood. It's a beautiful organ to look at in the image.
Mine's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't mine a beautiful kidney? Isn't that? No?
Yeah, it is.
Really, yeah.
And what happens if it doesn't get enough blood, it will get smaller. It gets half the size, and we look at both sides, and then we can tell that will get much smaller if it doesn't get enough blood, if there's a blockage in the artery that feeds it.
So if my kidney's not getting enough blood, life-giving blood in my body, my kidney can shrink.
Right. It'll,
Whoa! You didn't tell me that the other day.
I know.
You all get that without me having to do the translation? Without having enough blood from Jesus Christ. Without that transfusion, without that spending time with Jesus Christ, our spiritual heart or kidney can sort of shrivel up. Wow, that's a great one, Kurt.
Yeah.
That is. How about the liver? You want to go down to 25? This is going to be a picture of the liver. What is the liver? What does it do, just basically?
It kind of detoxifies the system. It has a lot of functions. It stores sugar. We see the veins here, just because they're easy to see and they're pretty. But it's just a diffuse tissue that it takes up, about a third of our cavity over here on the right side. It's beautiful to look through. I look at it through it to see the kidney, actually. It enhances anything you look through. But it is the only artery that we don't do many tests on because it hardly ever fails. We can't live without the liver. The artery and the hepatic portal system, which is the vein system that helps feed it, rarely has problems.
Okay, so livers typically don't fail.
Yeah, only if we abuse them.
Okay. How do we abuse them?
Alcohol is the biggest one. Cirrhosis of the liver is very rampant in people who drink a lot of alcohol.
So it sounds like you're saying that the kidney is that which filters out some bad stuff, and the liver is that which filters out, it replaces dead red cells with new red cells, and it detoxes us. That's where the pills that we take sort of get
processed
out through. And Jesus, what does he do on the cross? He processes our sin. He takes our sin away. As far as the east is from the west and the north is from the south, so far does God remove our sin from us. Isn't that amazing? I just think it is so. That's why I've wanted to do this for the last 13, 14 years with Kurt, to get him up here and show some pictures. It is just amazing how God has created, fearfully and wonderfully made our bodies, and how they are so much like our spiritual body. They're a mirror image in some respects. And how the blood gives life, Christ's blood gives life to us. It's just totally amazing to me. One last one, Kurt. I don't think I have the... It's the one, Scott, that says aorta. They're all named. I don't know if you can pull that one up. What does the aorta do, Kurt?
It's the main artery in our body. It comes off the heart on our left side of our chest. Whoops. And then it's like a candy cane. It goes down behind the heart, and it feeds all the vessels of the arms and the head up above. And then once it gets to the belly button, it turns to both legs and feeds the legs.
So here's a picture of my aorta.
Yep.
We're looking down on it, correct?
Right. It's a cross-sectional view or a short axis view. This is the spine right here. And these are some vessels coming off. Probably lumbar arteries. But you can see it beat every time the heart beats. It's right in the center of the body. Well protected. And
this is the one when Kurt and I were talking on Tuesday night. This is the one that you said that you look at people at times, and you brought this idea up, the spiritual correlation. Remember what you said?
Nope. Maybe I wrote it down.
How? I wrote it down.
Maybe I wrote it down
for
notes.
you.
Oh, I did say that already. It's the center of the body.
Yeah. So, and spiritually, though, when you and I were talking, you said that the center of the body, and you said something about like Christ has to be the center of our life.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that just amazing? The blood center of our body, by the spine,